sign this one.
Sure let it down. Or just go, did he run the 3 pages? Go ahead and hit the gavel.
Yes, it is.
I'd like to call this October 16th meeting of the Cookeville City Council to order. Please, can we have a roll call?
Councilman Anderson,
Present.
Councilman Shelton,
Here.
Mayor Salee,
Present.
Vice Mayor Davis,
Present.
Councilman Williams,
Present.
all present.
If we could all rise for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Thank you. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do we have any additions or corrections to the agenda, Mr.
No
Chair?
changes.
No changes. Do we have a motion and a second to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Have our motion and our second. Any comments from the council? Seeing none, all vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Thank you. That brings us to our old business portion of the meeting. Item 2, consider approval of minutes of council meeting held October the 2nd, 2008. Do we have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
I have our motion and our second. Any discussion on those minutes? Seeing no discussion, all vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Item 3, consider on second and final reading ordinance 080916, the closure and abandonment of a portion of an alley behind St. Michael's Episcopal Church located between East 6th and East 7th Streets. Sponsor, Mr. James Mills.
Mayor and council members, the portion of the alley that's requested for closure by St. Michael's is, as you say, located south of East 7th Street. It's between North Washington and Alberta Avenues. It has a surveyed width of 15 feet and a length of approximately 165 feet. There are 2 tracks on either side of the alley that's proposed for closure. Both are owned by the church. All property owners along the entire length of the alley from East 7th to East 6th were notified by the Planning Department. The Planning Commission has recommended for the approval of the closure and abandonment and sale of the portion of alley as requested, with the establishment of a minimum bid price based on the per square foot tax appraised value of the adjacent properties owned by the church, subject to the retention of a utility easement as requested by the Water Quality Control Department. The Planning Department concurs with this recommendation, and we've received no calls or comments since first reading.
Thank you, Mr. Mills. Do we have a motion and a second?
Move approval.
Second.
We have our motion and our second. Any discussion by the council?
I'm going to take myself out of the voting on this because I've attended St. Michael's for years and don't want anybody to think I'm prejudiced.
All right, thank you. I have one question about the closure. Will the general public, how are they going to know that it's closed? Are they actually going to barricade the road in some way?
My understanding is they will barricade it here.
Okay. Will we put signage up that it's closed, or, I mean, because I know that a lot of people still do cut through there, so.
We can direct the church to do that, to put a sign up that it's closed.
Well, that's a good point. I didn't know if on 6th Street at the alley you
Yeah,
should put a dead end sign. I don't know.
If that's what you think, then we can make sure that's done.
Mr. Brown, does that sound
Greg?
like something we can do? Okay, let's try to do that if we can, if nothing else temporarily until people understand that it's closed. Any further discussion on the alley? Any comments from the audience? Seeing no further comments, all vote.
We had a comment there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, he's leaving because he's from St. Michael.
Oh.
He got up pretty quick, I thought. No, come on.
Come ahead and give your comments there.
My name is Brian Horn. I'm here tonight representing St. Michael's. I want to thank you for considering the closure and abandonment of the alley. We feel that this is a logical step to increase the safety of our parishioners, Cookeville Preschool, the numerous associations that use our facility on a daily basis. I'd like you to also consider a statement made by a neighbor on the alley in the Planning Commission meeting that was for the use of the funds from the sale of the alley to go towards improving the remainder of the alley, which is in a pretty poor state of repair. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Sorry we rushed you the vote there. Didn't see it.
Well, I'll agree that alley does need some upgrading, so I'm sure that that'll get done when you can get to it.
If we're talking about upgrading though, I think the only people, I think they also own the middle property there, correct?
Well, the gentleman that spoke at Planning Commission owns these two properties.
Right, but
This track's also accessed by the apartments there.
yeah, but I don't think they come out of the apartments and turn right now because it's going to be closed. So only a portion, 60% of that length remainder, might have to be improved. I don't think we should.
Talking about this section through here.
Yeah, because the church. Yeah. Well, no, what I'm saying is that from the church also owns this house, correct,
Yes.
on Alberta.
Yeah, they own these two tracks.
And so what I'm saying is there's not a lot of access to going north from this middle property on Washington. So an improvement to the driveway, if you've driven it,
Like right
should only
over
be
here.
from there to down.
Yeah, that's all it needs.
Okay. All right, item 4, consider on second and final reading ordinance 080.
Well, let me call this vote. 4 yes, 1 abstain, motion
Okay,
carries.
thank you. I thought you'd already
you.
done that. Thank you. Consider on second and final reading ordinance 080917, the historic overlay zoning for 105, 115, 204, 207, 210, 215, 360, 368, and 371 Cherry Avenue, 206 and 216 Holly Avenue, and 115, 125, and 127 East 4th Street. Sponsor Mr. James Mills.
Mayor and council members, the Historic Zoning and Planning Commissions have recommended that historic overlay zoning be established for the 14 properties you just identified located on East 1st and 4th Streets, Cherry and Holly Avenues, and also that the properties be included in the North Dixie Avenue Historic District. The areas are shown on the screen. The Planning Department concurs with these recommendations. We've received no calls or comments since first reading.
Thank you, Mr. Mills. Do we have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion by the council? Any comments from the audience?
I was just going to make a comment about the overlay, the historic overlay. I think it's such a good idea to preserve these homes in this area because they are a little bit of a different architecture from some of the houses on Dixie Avenue, and I think it gives us that sense of what Cookeville looked like 50, 60, 70 years ago. And I really appreciate the way that the city of Cookeville has taken with this historic district and gone with it.
Very good.
I had a lady that attended Jenny in the Park with me today, and she lives in that district, and she was thanking me, and she wanted me to express to the rest of you council members her appreciation of passing this, putting this into the historic district, because she felt like it was a very good thing for her neighborhood.
Very good. Any further comments by the council? Any comments from our audience? Seeing no further comments, I'll vote.
4 yes votes, motion carries.
Item 5. Thank you, Mr.
I mean,
Mills.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Item 5, consider on second and final reading ordinance 080918, rezoning a portion of 929 West Jackson Street from RD Single Family and Duplex Residential to CL Local Commercial. Sponsor, once again, James Mills.
Mayor and council members, the proposed rezoning was initiated at the request of the property owner, Ms. Rebecca Ting. The current zoning of the subject property is split, with the majority already zoned as CL and the remaining portion zoned as RD. The proposed rezoning has been approved by the Planning Commission. It's recommended by the Planning Department. We've received no calls or comments since first reading.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mills. Do we have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments from the council? Any comments from the audience? Seeing no further comments, I'll vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mills. Brings us to our new business portion of the meeting. Item 6, consider approval of acquisition of properties at 125 West 6th Street, 520 North Whitney Avenue, and proceed with condemnation proceedings on 520 North Whitney Avenue. Sponsor, Cookeville Regional Medical Center, Mr. Paul Corey.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. The Hospital Board of Trustees last week approved the purchase and has requested the City Council to consider purchasing and approving the purchase of two pieces of property, one located at 125 West 6th Street and the other located at 520 North Whitney. Both pieces of property are within the medical district, and both pieces of property have properties that are adjacent to this piece of property that are already owned by the City of Cookeville. And the total purchase price is $295,000. It is in our capital budget, and it also will be used out of cash reserves. There is one request by the owner of the property on 520 North Whitney that this be done by a friendly condemnation.
Thank you, Mr. Korth. Do we have a motion and a second to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have our motion and our second. Any discussion by the council? Any comments from the audience? Seeing no further comments, all vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Korth.
Thank you, Mayor.
Item 7, consider Resolution 081024, amending the Personnel Policies and Procedures Manual relative to identity theft policy. Sponsor, Mr. Mike Davidson.
Mayor and council members, the United States Congress passed the Fair and Accurate Credit Transactions Act back in 2003. And back about a year ago, the Federal Trade Commission finalized some rules regarding that. Those rules place the City of Cookeville municipal utilities underneath that act, where we have to comply with that act. And basically, we're required to have a written identity theft policy. And that policy will require us to detect, prevent, and mitigate identity theft. And our policy specifically, it was developed for the state of Tennessee by MTAS, Municipal Technical Advisory Service. We've adapted it for the things that we do here at the city. And it'll define the sensitive information that we have. It'll describe the physical security of that data, and it'll also describe the electronic security of that data. And we're also kind of taking it a step further and trying to address how we'll protect employee data along with our customer data. And I'd recommend your approval and try to answer any questions you might have about it.
Thank you, Mr. Davidson. Do we have a motion and a second to approve?
Move approval.
Second.
We have our motion and our second. Any discussion by the council? I think we talked earlier that there will be some training, I guess, for our staff. And
Yeah, our Human Resources Department will handle that with our staff, starting with our Customer Service Department. They're pretty much aware of the things, and a lot of the things we're doing that are in the policy we've been doing for years, so they're aware of most of it, but we'll be going over everything with them and then branching out to all the other departments that it might affect and get some training with them also.
And do we have to ensure, I mean, do we have to ensure that our employees are trained? Is there some...
that is one of the aspects of the act, is that they are trained.
Do we have to report?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Any further comments by the council? Any comments from the audience? Seeing no comments, I'll vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Davidson.
Thank you.
Item 8, consider awarding bids for transformers and cable. Electric Department, sponsor Mr. Tony Peak.
Mayor and council have two bid tabulation sheets. The first one on pad-mounted transformers, and the second tabulation sheet on underground wiring. Recommend the low evaluated bid on the transformers and the low bid meeting specs on the wire, and recommend your approval.
All right, thank you, Mr. Peak. Do we have a motion and a second to approve?
Move approval.
Second.
We have our motion and our second. Any discussion by the council? Any idea on the increase in cost on these items, as say relative to last year's costs? Have you seen? Is it?
Yeah, we're seeing a change due to the transportation costs and a few things like that, and the cost of metal.
Okay.
I would guess, just having knowledge of talking about it over the last month, that they're probably up about 15% or so.
15%. Okay. Any comments from the council? Comments from the audience? Seeing no further comments, I'll vote.
5 yes votes,
Thank you.
motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Peak. Before I open up the floor for our hearing of citizens and/or delegations, I'd like to recognize our good friend Dr. Earl Hutchinson from Tennessee Tech and his advanced journalism class. I don't know, Dr. Hutchinson, if you have any comments or...
No, thank you very much.
All right. We certainly appreciate the audience tonight. Feel free to come back and join us anytime, and hope that you enjoyed your experience here tonight. And I'll open up the floor now to citizens, anybody that would like to come and speak for up to 3 minutes and bring ideas or comments to the City Council. You're more than welcome to do so. And also open up the floor to the council, anybody who has any announcements. Jean, you got any?
The only thing that comes to mind is that I believe Mr. Peak has got a power outage that's scheduled for tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night / Saturday
Morning.
12:01 Saturday morning.
But that is affecting the north.
North part of town like it did last week. So customers that were off last week can expect to be off this week. There'll be one additional outage in the future. I'm not sure if it'll be 1 or 2 weeks. But basically, we're performing maintenance on the 2 power transformers in the substation. And looking forward to getting that done and not inconveniencing people that we're trying to do at the time that inconvenience.
Well, hope people will remember that and not be calling and saying, what's happened to my electricity?
I think we're already maybe averaging 20 to 30 minutes on that.
I'd like to encourage everybody to get out and do their early voting. I'm going to vote early just in case something happens to me. I want to get my voice heard. And I want to, it's a little late for this, but both my children live away from Cookeville, but both of them are absentee voting. And at the Anderson home, you can't speak unless you vote, and voting is the way that you speak, and I really encourage that. And then tomorrow, I think, is our last concert in the park at 11:30 for...
Depot.
Yeah, right. The Brown Bag concert. Yeah, wrong place. But I think it's supposed to be a pretty day, and I'm certainly going to try to make that. And we appreciate all the nice things going around in Cookeville. So everybody go out and vote, and then go do your brown bag.
Very good.
Lunch.
Brown bag lunch, she said. I'd just like to add, our city's administrative assistant, Gail Fowler, and myself spent the earlier part of this week in Knoxville at the governor's first annual summit on clean energy, and had the opportunity to learn about business opportunities that will be happening in our city. There were a lot of businesses from across the state and the southeast. We heard from the director of TVA. We heard from the CEO of Volkswagen. The governor was there. Howard Baker was there. It was a very productive meeting, and hopefully in the next few years there will be some funds available to encourage the growth of businesses in the new green sector of jobs. There were some professors from Tennessee Tech who were there and were very vocal and offered some constructive ideas, and we'll continue meeting on that and hopefully be able to get the governor's ear on trying to get some new jobs in the state. So just let everybody know we were there. Any other comments or anything? Nothing? All right. Seeing no further comments, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. All right. Thank you.
Okay.